You know, if you're over the age of 40, you might not have no idea who this guy is we're going to be talking about. But for us who are over 50, part of the Much Music generation, sometimes MTV, big in Canada for a number of years, psychobilly artist extraordinaire, and these singles, spell it out. Elvis is everywhere, and Debbie Gibson is pregnant with my two-headed love child. The libertarian crackpot uh, cultist, writer, performer, bon vivant, tremendous artist, great sense of humor, and never took the world or himself too seriously. Mojo Nixon unfortunately passed away as part of a. He was in San Juan, Puerto Rico this week, February 7th, as part of a country cruise, and he died of a massive heart attack while it was docked there. And let me tell you, what a way to go. He was surrounded by people and things that he enjoyed. Now, born Neil Kirby McMillan Jr., anyway, the native of Chapel Hill, North Carolina, was known again professionally as Mojo Nixon, was an American musician, actor, best known for numerous satirical and novelty songs, especially his classic Elvis is Everywhere. If you can find the video, he basically saying how he tells the whole story of Elvis and all the people that have Elvis in him, why Elvis needs boats, why Elvis is Elvis solution, and how Michael J. Fox is the only person who doesn't have the Elvis, which I tend to agree because most Canadians on the West Coast wouldn't know Elvis if he went up to you and said, "Are you lonesome tonight?" This was an alternate staple on MTV, but it was a huge hit in Canada and other countries. His style, according to critics, could generally be defined as psychobilly, a musical genre which blends rockabilly with punk rock, which he pretty well perfected. He also hosted the Loon in the Afternoon radio show on Sirius XM. Now again, born in Chapel Hill, August 2nd, 57. He paired with the great Skid Roper in the early 80s in San Diego. Roper mostly provided instrumental backup to Nixon's lyrics. Nixon and Roper released their first album in '85 on Enigma. Mojo Nixon and Skid Roper, a classic for sure. The song Jesus at McDonald's for that album was the duo's first single. Now Nixon and Roper's third album, '87's Bodacious, featured the song Elvis is Everywhere, a dedication of Elvis Presley, which is his best known song. Now Nixon later declared his personal religious trinity was Presley, Foghorn Leghorn, and Otis Campbell. Pretty much what the world should follow, don't you think? Now, Mojo and Skid were also recorded in San Francisco during these early years by producer Sylvia Massey at CD Presents for the Rat Music for Rat People compilation album. Now, throughout the late 80s, Nixon and Roper provided several satirical pieces lampooning contemporary celebrities, such as MTV's VJ Martha Quinn and Stuffin' Martha's Muffin, and Rick Astley and Debbie Gibson. And Debbie Gibson is pregnant with my two-headed love child, which had Winona Ryder playing Debbie Gibson and somebody playing the tiny 2 inches of terror, Nick Astley. He appeared in several promo spots for MTV during this period, but the network's decision not to air the video for Debbie Gibson is pregnant prompted him to sever ties with the network. Of course, it was shown like crazy on Much Music and various Canadian networks. Meanwhile, Nixon and Roper also lampooned contemporary American culture and social issues in songs such as I Hate Banks, Burn Down the Malls, and The Amazing Bigfoot Diet. Now, Nixon and Roper parted ways late in '89. The following year, he recorded a solo album on Enigma Records called Otis. On this album, Nixon continues his assault on pop culture, as in the song Don Henley Must Die, which caused a fresh round of controversy, even to the point of Nixon's record company begging radio stations not to play it. Unfortunately, for most of the people that wanted Don Henley dead, he was speaking for them, but the problem is they weren't running the radio stations to play this song. Henley himself was unfazed, as on July 31st, '92, at the Hole in the Wall in Austin, Texas, the former Eagle frontman jumped on stage and performed the song with Nixon, causing Nixon to praise Henley as having balls as big as church bells, as well as to ask, is Debbie Gibson here today? Now, shortly after Otis was released, Enigma went bankrupt, which left much of Nixon's early catalog in legal limbo. In the 1990s, Nixon released a handful of albums on several labels with a backup band known as the Total Liquors, Liquors. These later albums, including songs as You Can't Kill Me, Oriental James, was A Mighty Bad Man, O.J. Simpson, and the controversial Bring Me the Head of David Geffen, which is ultimately released on a B-side collection due to a pressure from album distributors, Geffen albums. Also among his later work was Tie My Pecker to My Leg, which featured lyrics of bestiality, incest, and coprophilia. In the mid-1980s, he collaborated on albums with the very controversial Jello Biafra, Prairie Home Invasion, Dave Alvin, and members of the Beat Farmers, including Buddy Blue Siegel. Live in Las Vegas by the Pleasure Barons, Country Dick Montana of the Beat Farmers, who was a close friend of Nixon's, was eulogized on Nixon's '99 album, The Real Sock Ray Blue, after his '95 death on stage of a heart attack. Before his death, the two enjoyed poking fun at each other, such as Country Dick saying on stage that he'd been fucking Mojo's mama, which led to Nixon to retort, Country Dick can keep on fucking my mama as long as he keeps on sucking my dick. Nixon retired from the music business in 2004, playing his last live show on March 20th of that year at the Continental Club in Austin, Texas. In later years, he occasionally performed at special events, as he did to support fellow musician Kinky Friedman's candidacy for Texas governor. Now, a very, very interesting actor, because he made his debut as a drummer, James Van Eaton, the controversial part of the Jerry Lee Lewis Band in the '89 Jerry Lee Lewis biopic, Great Balls of Fire. The film starred Dennis Quaid and Winona Ryder, the later of whom appeared in Nixon's video for Debbie Gibson is Pregnant with My Two-Headed Love Child. The B-side to the Debbie Gibson song, which was also subject of video, was 619239 King, a follow-up to Elvis's Everywhere, in which Nixon, responding to then active rumors that Presley was still alive, invited the singer to call and leave a message on what was, at the time of release, a legitimate telephone number. The 90s also Nixon appeared in future 5 films, including Super Mario Brothers in '93 and Care 54, Where Are You? In '97, he voiced the character of Sheriff Lester T. Hobbs, a recurring enemy in the computer game Redneck Rampage. The game's licensed Psychobilly soundtrack also features 2 of his songs. There was even a promo video filmed for the game featuring the songs. Now, in the late 90s, he turned himself to radio again. He worked as a radio disc jockey in San Diego on KGB FM. Exactly. In Cincinnati on WGN FM. In '98, he had a short run as an advice columnist with Life Fixin' with Mojo Nixon. Only 2 columns were authored, and both ran in the short-lived Peterbilly magazine. That year, he was also the honorary captain of the United States luge team at the '98 Winter Olympics. In response to this, Nixon invited members of the men's double squad to work on a song for the games, Luge Team USA. The song was recorded by Nixon along with members of the Beat Farmers, and Luger Gordon Shear playing drums under the band named the Arctic Evil Knievels. In 2008, he was hosting 3 shows on Sirius: The Loon in the Afternoon on Outlaw Country, the NASCAR-themed Mojo Nixon's Manifold Destiny on Sirius XM NASCAR Radio, and the politically themed You Can't Make This Up Line Cocksuckers on the Raw Dog Comedy Channel 99. In October 2005, he began appearing on the Sirius Howard 100 channel as a general manager. On November 8, 2016, Nixon did his final Line Cocksucker show, saying he would be back next year with another show on Raw Dog Comedy on Sirius. He also hosted a weekday program on Steve Van Zant's Outlaw Country channel on Sirius. Now, his first comeback in unretirement came in 2006, when he came out of musical retirement in support of Kinky Friedman's bid to become governor of Texas. As Nixon said at the time, if supporting Kinky for governor is what it takes to drag my ass out of retirement, consider my ass dragged. In October 2009, he had announced his unretirement officially on his website with the release of his album Whiskey Rebellion, a collection of previously unreleased tracks he claimed he had found in an old shoebox full of cassette tapes under the front porch. To promote the CD, he announced the temporary free downloads of the CD tracks and several of his solo albums and albums by Skid Roper on Amazon.com, along with a tour of several Texas locations. And in the press release, he stated, "Can't wait for Washington to fix the economy. We must take bold action now. If I make the new album free and my entire catalog free, it will stimulate the economy. It might even overstimulate the economy. History has shown that when people listen to my music, money tends to flow to bartenders, racetracks, late-night greasy spoons, bail bondsmen, go-kart tracks, tractor pulls, football games, peep shows, and several black market vices. My music causes itches that usually take some money to scratch." Now, he also believed in the Mojo Manifesto, and we're going this for a second. It's called The Life and Times of Mojo Nixon. In 2013, Freedom Records and Films announced they were producing the documentary of the Mojo Manifesto to be released in 2014. The film premiered some 8 years later in 2022 by Southwest Festival. Now, on February 21st, 2023, Freestyle Digital Media announced that it acquired worldwide rights to the film, slating it for a March 17 release across VOD platforms. If you can find it, check it out. Now, Nixon and his beautiful wife, Adair, had 2 sons. Now, he believed music should be free. He was an outstanding supporter of the free file sharing of recordings in MP3 and other formats. In July 2000, he publicly declared his support because he said he was not an asshole like Metallica. In October 2009, several of his albums were available for free on Amazon.com in MP3 format for a limited time as part of a promotion for his CD Whiskey Rebellion. Now, Nixon, a very, very interesting religious and political briefs. He was a self-described libertarian syndicalist anarchist and supported Barack Obama in 2012. He was also a member of the crazy, this is a crazy religion, the Church of the Subgenius. You have to check this out, ladies and gentlemen. You think the Rhino Party is fucked up? This is David Byrne and Frank Zappa are kind of, not say part of it. I don't know what. It's a religion or not the religion. It has to be checked out. Now Nixon did die again. We think he might just be called up for to return, just like Elvis. Died from a cardiac event on February 7, 2024, while aboard the Outlaw Country Cruise docked in San Juan, Puerto Rico, which he attended as a performer and host. He was a young 66. 3 days later, James Van Eaton, who he portrayed in Great Balls of Fire, also died. Now, with Skid Roper, the big releases, of course, the Super Six, as I call it, Mojo Nixon, Skid Roper, Get Out of My Way, Frenzy, Baudet Chasse, Root Hog or Die, and Unlimited Everything, Solo, Otis, Whereabouts Unknown, Gadzooks, the Homemade Bootleg, Mojo Nixon Live at the Casbah, 2003, Whiskey Rebellion, and Mojo Nixon and the Toad Liquors, Horny Holidays, Prairie Home Invasion, and the Real Sakurai Blue, other including Live in Las Vegas with the Pleasure Barons in 94, and Redneck Rampage video game soundtrack in 97. So, Elvis is Everywhere did chart in Australia, 98. Modern rock charts, 2 hits. Debbie Gibson is pregnant with my 2-headed love child. Debbie Gibson is pregnant with my 2-headed love child. And Don Henley Must Die. But Elvis is Everywhere is a classic because it was 10 years after Elvis's death, so it was an Elvis solution going on, and it just every time I think of that song, boys, it just makes me want to smile. Now, filmography, of course. Let's go into this for a second. Great Balls of Fire, Rock and Roll High School Forever, Super Mario Brothers, Car 54, Where Are You, Ronnie, Die Wholesale, Butt Crack, where Preacher Man Bob, and of course the classic 4-course meal. So Mojo Nixon, boys oh boys. In Canada, I think it was the only country that really fully appreciated him because he was crazy but not crazy. He was off the wall but not off the wall. What a lot of you talked about it, was said, but you should see the debate about what do you call record banning, the PMRC years when he was taking on Pat Robertson on CNN. I'm not joking. Mojo against Pat Robertson. That's like a baseball. It's like a baseball wife talking to a fungo. Like I said, I'm a person that basically likes sarcasm and everything that he do. And Mojo spoke to me because Mojo said once on Much Music, if you believe Elvis is alive, therefore I'm preaching you, Elvis is everywhere. And he's right, Elvis is everywhere. In 2024, you look at the Grammys, you look at Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift didn't invent that. There's fucking Elvis. Elvis, it all comes down to Elvis. Like the cult of personality, the cult of entertainment, the cult of handsomeness, the cult of sexuality is all Elvis. He shook his pelvis on the stage, how many years ago now? 70? 70 years ago, 69 years ago, and we're still Elvis. We're still, Elvis-lution, find a perfection of Elvis. And I think that we're a better world because I can imagine what the world was like if Elvis didn't live, because Mojo would never sang about it. So Mojo, we're going to miss you, buddy. And I'm sorry I never met you, but I wish I would have. And the first thing I would say to you, man, Elvis is, Elvis is Canada, because Elvis did an album of all Canadian songs. I'm not joking. He's everywhere. Did Elvis do a bunch of pure Puerto Rican or German songs? No, he did a Canadian album. He knew where bread is buttered. So Mojo Nixon should have been the great nephew of Elvis, because, but he was a good actor too. Like when he was in Great Balls of Fire, holding himself back made him a great actor. So, anyway, ladies and gentlemen, if you like what we're doing here, with our tribute podcast with beautiful artists like Mojo pass away, let us know what to like, comment, subscribe, or share. Bye.